Hello student, very good morning. Today we are going to discuss about our next topic, that is a topic number 6.4. It is about a Ellingham diagram. We will discuss who discovered this diagram, from that which kind of information can we get, and how it actually help in our day-to-day life and in a industrial area. So let's get started. Thermodynamics help us in understanding variation in a temperature required for a thermal reduction of a oxide and to predict which element will used to reducing agent for a given metal oxide. The Gibbs free energy is the most important thermodynamic term. You already know for a spontaneous reaction change in a Gibbs energy delta G must be negative. Delta G for any process at a given temperature is given by the reaction delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S, where delta H is a enthalpy change, T is a absolute temperature, and delta S is a change in entropy during the reaction. The change in a Gibbs free energy when 1 gram mole of an oxygen is used to form oxide of a metal can be plotted against a temperature. That graphical representation is called an Ellingham diagram. This plot not only help us to determine relative ease of reduction of a given metal oxide to the metal, but also the feasibility of a thermal reduction of an ore. An Ellingham diagram is a normally consists of a plot of a change in a Gibbs free energy versus temperature for the formation of a oxide. An Ellingham diagram of oxides have several important features. Let's look at them one by one. So the first features is that the graph for most metal to metal oxide reactions show opposite slope. Consider a reaction such as a formation of an oxide, that is a 2M plus O2 gives 2 metal oxide. In this reaction, the entropy or randomness decreases to left to right due to the consumption of gases. Hence, delta S become negative. Thus, if the temperature is raised, T delta S become more negative. Since T delta S is subtracted in the equation, delta G become less negative. Thus, the free energy change increases with an increase in a temperature, and hence the plot shows opposite slope. The second important feature is that the Gibbs free energy change follow a straight line unless the material melts or vaporizes. The temperature at which such a change occurs is indicated by increase in a slope on the positive side. For example, slope of a zinc and zinc oxide line changes around 800 degrees Celsius, while similarly the slope of magnesium oxide line changes around 100, sorry, not 100, it is 1000 to 1120 degrees Celsius. The third feature is that when the temperature is raised, a plot will be reached where graph crosses the line delta G is equal to 0. Below this temperature, the free energy for formation of oxide is a negative. So, the oxide is stable above this temperature. The free energy of the formation of oxide is a positive. The oxide become unstable and will decompose into metal and dioxygen. Another important feature is that any metal will reduce in an oxide of another metal that lies above it in an Ellingham diagram. Thus, aluminium can reduce iron oxide, chromium oxide, and nickel oxide in the well-known thermite reaction, but aluminum will not reduce magnesium oxide below 1500 degrees Celsius. Ellingham diagram also suffers from a limitations. The first limitation is that they assume that reactant and product to be in equilibrium, which is not true every time. Another limitation is that although they indicates whether the reaction is occurs or not, they do not say anything about the rate of reaction. In a last lecture, some students have a complaint that they are not getting everything from the video lecture. So today we are also discussing the NCERT portion, and again we are discussing the inorganic portion, and for inorganic portion NCERT is sufficient, in fact more than sufficient. So from today itself we will also discuss NCERT line by line, so you get the maximum benefit from the video lecture. So the first point we have the graphical representation of a Gibbs free energy was first used by H.J.T. Ellingham. In a thumbnail of YouTube lecture, you also saw the picture of H.J.T. Ellingham. He was a scientist who discovered the Gibbs free energy, or you can say it is about a Ellingham diagram. This provides us sound basics for considering the choice of a reducing agent in the reduction of oxide. From this diagram, you can choose which kind of element can be used for the reduction of oxide, and you have an idea that X element can be used up and Y can be neglected and so on. This is known as the Ellingham diagram. The graph which deal with the Gibbs free energy and a temperature is basically known as a Ellingham diagram. Okay, so such diagram help us in predicting the feasibility of a thermal reduction of an ore. From this diagram you can get idea that which kind of ore you can be used on the basis of a thermal reactions. So you can clearly see here the diagram. Here several points must be noted down. The first point, in a y-axis you have a delta G. You must remember the unit of a delta G, that is in a kilojoule per mole, and in a x-axis you have a temperature. Temperature are represented in the both scale, that is a degree Celsius as well as a Kelvin itself, because the original diagram was made up from the degree Celsius, and afterwards we converted into a Kelvin scale. So I am advising that you go with the degree Celsius because it has a perfect value, or say it is a round off value, that is a 400, 800 degrees Celsius, 1200 and so on. The graph is basically shows a oxidation reaction. See over here we have a copper and oxygen, it will produce a copper oxide. Again we have a many kind of reaction, but they all are the oxidation reaction. Here you should focus on the two main reaction. The one reaction is a oxidation of a carbon to give carbon dioxide, and the another one is about a oxidation of a carbon to gives carbon monoxide. The two reactions graph is quite different, because almost every line goes upward side while the carbon dioxide line is go straight and carbon monoxide line is going downwards. I will say how it help us, but up to now please remember carbon dioxide line is a straight one and carbon monoxide line is a downward. So let's move further. As we know, during a reduction, oxide of a metal decomposes and reducing agent takes away the oxygen atom. means metal oxide are converted into a metal. From this reaction you clearly see that first we have metal oxide, and after reaction we have the metal itself and oxygen will removed. So basically you need to know about the metal oxide reaction. Then we have a oxidation reaction of a carbon. So initially we have a metal oxide and carbon itself. By reacting this reaction together, we will obtain metal itself. How? Let's see. On a coupling of above reaction, actually we getting the reaction shown here. Sorry. That is metal oxide plus carbon will gives us a metal and carbon monoxide. So in case of a reduction of a metal oxide to metal, we are mainly dealing with the reaction 6.18. That is, we are actually converting metal oxide into a metal. And for this reaction, we are need to calculate Gibbs free energy. If this Gibbs free energy is a negative, then our reaction is possible. And if this reaction is having a positive delta G value, then reaction cannot be take place. Let's look at further. Forget all this kind of reaction. They just give idea about how different kind of reaction takes place. We are mainly concerned with the red boxes reaction. Or if you have a still confusion, then just remember the only one reaction, that is about a 6.21. The reaction is of a metal oxide and carbon monoxide, which is actually converted to a carbon dioxide and a metal itself. So now our actual topic is starting, that is about the Ellingham diagram. Above point we already discussed in the thermodynamic aspect of metallurgy, but now we are concerned with the Ellingham diagram only. So the Ellingham diagram normally consists of a plot of a delta G versus temperature. We already saw it. For the formation of oxide, common metals and reducing agent, that is for the reaction given below. Means Ellingham diagram gives us information about this kind of reaction, that is shown in the red box. In this reaction, gas is consumed in the formation of oxide. You can see that here oxygen is in the gas form. That's why they are saying that gas is consumed in the formation of oxide. Hence, molecular randomness decreases. See, initially in a reactant we have oxygen in a gaseous phase. So the randomness is higher due to oxygen. So we can say that the entropy is higher. But as soon as the reaction is a proceed, we getting metal oxide as a product, and physical state of a metal oxide is in a solid phase. So we can say that after the completion of the reaction, randomness is decreases due to absence of a gaseous phase, and so consequently the entropy of the reaction is also decreases. It simply means that delta S of a reaction is a negative, or you can say that delta S of a reaction is decreasing as soon as the reaction is proceeded. Now let's move further. Read from here, which leads to a negative value of a delta S. As we just discussed, randomness decreases, and so entropy of the reaction is also decreases. So we have a delta S in a negative value. As a result, sign of a T delta S become positive. See, the equation just we discussed, sorry. Yes, here is our equation. Equation is a delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S, and I am saying that delta S is again negative. Value of delta S is a negative. So one negative is from here, and already one negative sign is present in the equation. So negative negative will be positive. So the overall value will become positive. The sign between delta H and T delta S will become positive. This negative sign will convert it into a positive sign. Let's move further. Okay, fine. So the sign between delta H and T delta S become positive. Subsequently, delta G shift towards higher side despite rising temperature. It simply means that as you rising the temperature, the delta G shift towards higher value, result in the positive slope in the curve for most of the reaction of a formation of a metal oxide. Now the second point, each plot is a straight line and slopes upwards. In Ellingham diagram, you can clearly see that the most of the lines are going upward direction. So they are saying about it. Okay. When some changing in the phase, that is a solid to liquid, liquid to gas takes place, the temperature at which such change takes place is indicated by the increase in the slope of the positive line. Means our line was almost a straight line, but suddenly when the physical change occurs, this slope increased dramatically. So this point, let's say we say this point is a. From point A, our line is suddenly increases, our slope is suddenly increases due to the physical changes, that is a solid to liquid, that is a liquid to gas, and so on. As soon as the physical state change, the slope will increases dramatically because entropy, that is a randomness, increases. So for example, zinc and zinc oxide plots, the melting is indicated by the abrupt change in the curve. Curve is dramatically changes, they are saying that. Now the next point, that is the C point. When temperature is raised, a point is reached in the curve where the delta G is a 0. Means our delta G 0 is crossing up. Below this temperature, delta G for the formation of oxide is a negative. Mark this word, delta G for the formation of oxide is a negative. Below, delta G is equal to 0. But as soon as you crosses the line above this point, free energy of the formation of oxide is a positive. As we crosses the line of a delta G is equal to 0, our energy or our formation enthalpy will directly convert it into the positive value. The oxide MXO will decompose on its own. As we crosses the line of delta G is equal to 0, metal oxide is directly converted without any physical or chemical changes. Means metal oxide itself converted into metal. We are not doing a single step or a single changes in a reaction. Now the last point. Point number D. Similar diagram are constructed for a sulfide and halide also. We can draw such kind of diagram for a sulfide and halide. From them, it become clear that why reduction of a metal sulfide is difficult. Means if you have a sulfide diagram and you are comparing sulfide and oxide diagram, then you can clearly see that the lines are different from the oxide, and from that you can predict why the reduction of a metal sulfide is difficult for us than the oxide. Now the two important point is about their limitations. The Ellingham diagram also suffers from the limitations. Let's see which kind of limitations are there. The graph simply indicates, okay, you can read it by afterwards. You just now read the highlighted portion. That is, it does not explain the kinetics of the reduction process. It cannot answer questions like how fast reduction can proceed. The diagram is all about the thermodynamic aspect, but it not give any single information about the speed of reaction. Means diagram says that the reaction will definitely complete if you have a delta G with the negative value. But it may take 1 day, it may take 1 week, or 1 month, or 1 year, or it may take 1,000 years. So we cannot get idea from the diagram that in how much time actually reaction will proceed or actually reaction will complete. Now the second point, the second limitation is about their equilibrium. The scientist pre-assumed, means he assumed that the reactant and product are in a equilibrium. But actually this is not the case. This is not always true, because the reactant or a product may be solid. In commercial process, reactant and products are in a contact for the shorter time. For the equilibrium, the time period must be longer. So now let's look at the second point. The reactions number 6.80 and 6.21. They are talking about the two reactions. First one is about 6.18 and the second one is about 6.21. Let's take a look over this reaction. So here we have a reaction number 6.18. That is a metal oxide reacting with the carbon and produce metal and carbon monoxide. I am describing this reaction as the reaction of carbon monoxide, and the second reaction is of carbon dioxide. Means they are suggesting us to focus on the reaction of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Let's see what they are asking about. See, describe the actual reduction of the metal oxide. The reaction number 6.18 and 21 actually describe the reduction of a metal oxide that we want to accomplish. The delta G value of this reaction is in general can be obtained from the corresponding delta G values of oxide. Means they are trying to say that the values of this reaction you can find from the diagram itself. The equation number 18 and 21 can be calculated from the diagram. See next paragraph. As we have seen, heating favors a negative value of a delta G. Means as soon as we heat the substance, heat the reaction, then we get more and more negative delta G. Therefore, the temperature is chosen that the sum of the delta G will be negative from the diagram. This is indicated by the points of the intersection of the two graph. Whenever the two curves are intersect, let's say we have this point as a point number P. So on a right hand side of a point P, we have a always negative delta G, and on a left hand side of a P, we have a always resultant delta G having a positive value. Okay, that is the curve for the formation of a metal oxide and that of the formation of the oxide of the following reducing agent. Means they are asking the same point again. As soon as we move towards the right hand side of the diagram, the reaction will be spontaneous. Okay, fine. Now just read the underlined portion. The difference in the two delta G values after the point determine whether the reduction of the oxide of the element of the upper line is feasible. This is the most important point. Upper line is feasible by the element of which oxide formation is represented by the lower line. The 2 point is a conclusion of the whole theory. Means for the reduction of a particular metal oxide, its line should be above the particular reducing agent line. Means whichever line is above the certain line, then and then only the reagent can be reduced the upper line. Okay, if the difference is large, the reduction is easier. As soon as the differences increases, reduction will goes easy way. So let's see from the graph again. See, here we are talking about aluminum and magnesium. Here we have one point that is marked by point number A. As you see, on the left hand side of a point A, we have a aluminum on the upper side. So aluminum can be reduced by magnesium. I am repeating the sentence. On the left hand side, aluminum can be reduced with the help of magnesium. But as we move right hand side and the right hand side of the point A, the situation is different. The upper line is of a magnesium and the lower line is of a aluminum. So we can say that now magnesium can be reduced with the help of aluminum. So we are mainly concerned with the temperature itself. So if someone is asking that what will be the situation at a 400 degrees Celsius, then we can say that at a 400 degrees Celsius, aluminum oxide, that is Al2O3, can be reduced to aluminum metal by the help of magnesium. Is that clear? But if the question is asked about the 1600 degrees Celsius, then the situation is different. You can clearly see here at a 1600 degrees Celsius, the line of magnesium is the upward side. So we can say that magnesium oxide can be reduced into magnesium with the help of aluminum. This is all about this topic. We will see the next topic in the next lecture. Okay, fine. So that's all about from my side. I'm sincerely advising you that please go through NCERT, read line by line, underline the technical terms, and free feel to ask me any doubts if you have. Okay, fine. And again, you have the homework. The portion which we already studied. Read once, read twice, and write 1 or 2 times and send it to me. Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience. We will meet soon.